Howdy YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Gunman. So I thought I'd do a video on how to minimize the chance of getting runs or potentially eliminate some issues that you may have getting runs. It's something that you're not a real painter if you haven't had an issue with getting runs in the past. So I've written down a bit of a list, so let's get straight into it. So I'll just go straight down the list. The first one I've got written down is warm the paint up. So if it's winter and you've got cold paints that are sitting on the shelf, and you've got cold panels, because even though you've had the car or the panel in the booth for maybe 20 or 30 minutes, it's still not going to get completely up to the booth temperature. It's going to take a while. Like, you nearly have to bake the panel to get it up to say 20 or 30 degrees Celsius, which is probably an optimal, say 25 degrees would be an optimal panel temperature. But if the outside temperature is 5 or 10 degrees, you can sit that panel in there on spray cycle at 30 degrees, and it'll probably take an hour and a half to get, because it's pretty thick steel. It's going to take a while to actually get some heat into that steel. So it's not always feasible when you're in a panel shop environment. Car's got to go in and out and in and out. So the panel temperature will actually play a factor in it as well. But one way around it is to warm the clear coat up itself. So it's something that I don't necessarily always do it, because I do a lot of candy painting here at the moment, so I need to get extremely consistent results, and I've actually found I'm better off just adding a little bit extra thinners into it. That will also help as well. That does take it down to the next point, which is thin it down correctly. So one thing that can happen is if you've left your paint too thick, well then to get a nice wet coat on, you've got to put it on heavier to get that paint to wet up, because it is thicker, right? So in doing that, there is more chances of having it run. So thinning it down, and maybe even just adding an extra little bit of thinners, just try playing around with those thinning ratios. Generally it won't take too long to find the sweet spot, but like I say, just find that correct thinning ratio. Another thing to keep in mind though is that if you do warm the clear up, it will actually make it thinner. So you might find that if you warm the clear up, you won't need the extra thinners, but if you're just running it at just room temperature, then you may need that extra thinner. So there's a couple of different ways to get it thin. But the warming up actually has, the warming up of the clear has two effects, is that once it goes down, it's going to flash off a lot quicker as well. So because of the temperature, it'll sort of evaporate those solvents out of it a lot quicker. Apply thin coats. That's the next thing on the list, is like don't just smash a coat on and then wait for a minute and then smash another coat on. So like I say, add the right amount of thinners these days. Like, whilst I'm definitely capable of doing the 30-70 or tack and whack, I've just found bigger picture, you're actually much better off doing a standard 2-coat system with a few minute flash off in between. Thin coats I've found, just try that if you are sort of attempting the tack and whack method. Maybe it's time to just sort of pull back from that kind of a method. And next one is make sure it's dry between coats. That's what I've got. I kind of just said that a second ago, but just make sure you're leaving it for long enough in between coats. So like I say, if you're just going and putting 2 coats on straight away, you're just overloading the clear, and that's going to make it go south. It's going to make it run. So the next thing I've got is wind the fluid in on your gun. So if you've got too much fluid, you're just pumping too much material. It's kind of the same principle as the previous thing. If you're just applying too much material on in one coat, well then it's going to be more likely to run. So get the gun settings right. Next one I've got is the air cap / the gun. So if you're using, say, a HVLP gun, maybe ditch that for a Trans-Tech or something like a LV/LP type spray gun. One that would come to mind at the moment, I've been really enjoying using this one, so that's one of my latest favorites. But if you are having troubles with runs and you're not shy of spending $1, because these starters are expensive, so although if you're used to your SATAs, I'd just like to let you know, this does not operate like most SATAs I've used. So the 1.3 in a SATA will generally overload the material. This will not, okay? So don't be shy to get this in a 1.3 for the SATA CC. It's got a really nice big fan on it. It'll get like the high atomization similar to the T110, but the fan is like a big improvement over that. Yeah, that's to relate it back to a DeVilbiss. It's a lot easier to use also than the likes of the Supernova. The Supernova will get similar flat finishes, but this is a gun that will potentially cause more troubles than it's good in inexperienced hands. So yeah, that'll be a good one to look at. That's one that really comes to mind. Again, is getting the settings right, you know. So just get the pressure up. So what's happening? You got to think about spray painting like a garden hose. I think this is the best way to just break it down in really easy to understand language, right? So it's basically the same principle as what's going on with your garden hose. You think about, you turn your garden hose on, there's a big stream of water coming out. If you put your finger over it, right, you are increasing the pressure, but you are lowering the volume. So you're actually restricting the amount that's coming out, but you're increasing the pressure, right? So you're getting less on. Same thing when you're spray painting. Turn the pressure up, you're getting less on. And again, that comes back to that point that I made a couple of points ago. You put too much on, you're gonna get runs. Increase the pressure, you're gonna get less material on. So hopefully that made sense. But it really is not that difficult. So again, that comes back to the HVLP versus the high atomization with the higher pressure spray guns. So next thing we've got there is the hardener, the speed of the hardener. So look, these days personally, well, I'm using PPG and they only really have one speed of the hardener, and you will change the speed with the thinners, but depending on the paint manufacturer that you're using, you may find that using a faster hardener will be better. But look, me personally, even if I'm using other paint brands, I generally will go for a medium hardener most of the year around, because I've just found that the overall drying times is actually better with a medium hardener. And then if you need it, you can sort of put a fast thinner in or something. That'll help the flash off times in between coats, but it'll sort of help the overall dry times. That's just what I've found again. But like I say, look, potentially another thing to look at is the hardener speed and the thinner speed. Another thing is the fluid tip. So like I said before, this one here, for a 1.3, that operates quite good. You know, it doesn't put a great deal of material on the panel. Like, you've kind of got to move pretty slow to get runs with this one. Whereas with your Pro Light, so this is my candy gun. This is the one that I use for candy, right? 1.3, it operates so totally different than the 1.3 on that SATA jet. So if you were getting runs and you were using your TE20 with the 1.3, I would say put the 1.2 on. Put the 1.2 on and potentially look at getting a different air cap. You could look at getting the T110 or the TE10. Those air caps, same thing. They've just got smaller holes. So if you look at the size of the holes on these on the side of that air cap, that's the TE20. As you go for the higher atomization, all you'll see is they just get smaller. So same principle as what I was talking about with that hose. You're restricting the flow, you're raising the pressure. That's all there really is to it. It's quite basic, really. So yeah, that's the guns and the fluid tips. Look into that. And the speed and the distance. So that's the next thing, and that's the last thing that I've got on this list. Speed and distance. So crank the pressure up, go a little bit go a little bit closer and faster. Try doing that. So you'll find that you'll get, so as you sort of hold the gun back, it might feel more comfortable to you because it's not so scary to have it so close. But what's happening is, as the paint, as it travels, it's actually, those droplets will probably get bigger, right? So you're getting the higher atomization as the gun is closer to the panel. So yeah, that's another thing. You'll also find if you're doing that, you're gonna get a slight increase in your, decrease in your paint usage. So you'll get, better efficiency out of the spray gun if you do hold it a little bit faster. So I guess that about rounds it up. Hopefully you've got a few little tips out of that video, guys. If there's anything that you think I've missed, be sure to shoot it down in the comments and other people can read it. But that's about it, guys. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one. Gunman out. Quick look at my beauties.